I think, my controversial take,
Here it
I
is.
guess,
Let it out.
is that I believe that Becky is better than Charlotte. And that's not just because I don't like Charlotte. I think that Becky is better than Charlotte. And okay, so I might have, if I was better prepared to explain myself, maybe I would have a more like list of reasons. But I would say the top reasons for me that stand out is Becky is so good at being characters. She's a convincing heel. She's a convincing babyface. She can interchange them weekly, basically. And she's been so good at reinventing herself. I mean, we first saw her doing the Irish jig. What the fuck? That was what she was doing when she first like debuted.
I do remember that. Jesus.
And then she went through like the steampunk era. We saw big time Bex, with the short hair and the like Lady Gaga type outfits.
Big Time Bex was cool.
What?
Big Time Bex was cool.
Oh, I loved it, and it made sense too. The whole thing was like it was all rooted in trying to become the champion and feeling lost without it.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're at this era now too, where she's just killing it every single week, like. And I think the other part, that's a huge part of why I think she's better than Charlotte. The other is Charlotte, of course, is talented in the ring, and I'll never say that she's not. She's definitely one of the best all time, and maybe even, it's an argument that you can have that she's the best in-ring performer of the women's division ever. But I think that, you were just kind of saying it with Becky and Lyra, that it wasn't like I don't know how to say, it's like they didn't have to rely on these huge spots for you to remember the match. Yeah. And I feel like that's part of a lot of what Charlotte does, which kudos to her. She can do the moonsaults off the top rope and she can do all this crazy stuff. But like, those are what makes matches, like, I feel like the most memorable. And I like that Becky doesn't have to rely on doing that kind of stuff to have a good match or for you to remember her match. And I feel like that's what separates her from Charlotte and kind of makes her better in my eyes, because if you have to always have this like spotlight on one specific segment part of a match, then like, what does that say about you as a performer? Like, you can't rely on the storytelling and just the professional wrestling, in order for people to take away a feeling or feel, like remember that match. I'm sure there's other reasons, but the main thing is, like, to me, is the characters, because we know Charlotte is not good at being a baby face.
Terrible.
She can't. And just, I guess, the effortlessness that Becky won the crowd over.
Yeah, it was organic. It was so organic how she won the crowd over and pretty much evolved into the man. Like, it is my favorite gimmick of hers with the man and how she just took over.
That
and
is
then,
like her incredible. Stone Cold
moment, yeah, like
that's
why it felt like she was Stone Cold the women's division, which they absolutely needed someone like that at that time to elevate the women's division.
So badass. And then if we want to add another layer, because just thought about it,
there you go,
her run with the NXT women's title, she didn't give a single fuck that she didn't win the title before she came up to the main roster. Do you think Charlotte would have cared? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you also think that Charlotte would go on a run similar to what Becky was just doing, where she was like wrestling with the, lower card girls that people don't really know who they are, trying to help put them on the map?
Matches.
So that's what I mean. Like, I think the difference is too, is Becky is, and like this maybe is the controversial part, Charlotte always strikes me as someone who's in business for herself. Maybe she's not, but that's just how it feels, because it always feels like Charlotte puts Charlotte first. And I know that in wrestling you have to do that, but at the same time, the whole point is putting on a show, and sometimes you have to put the other person over. I think like this, I'm telling you, because of my love for Scott Hall, listening to everything that he said. Dude never won the world title. And you know why? Because he didn't give a shit. Because if he was able to put another guy over, that was like, okay, a job well done. I did what I'm supposed to do, because that's part of professional wrestling. It's like, you're supposed to want to succeed yourself, but then you also want to be involved in someone else's success too, because that's what you do, you know? And so I have to credit Becky for that, because she and the matches that she had were great with Tegan, with Indy, with Tiffany, with Lyra. Like,
the Lyra match is the best one out of all
yeah,
of
they
them.
were all fantastic, and I just don't see that being something that Charlotte would have done.